All right, so our Torah portion this week is about, let me see. Um, all right. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. This is where we are. They actually say it, they say it differently than what it should be said. They say Wayaki. Okay. And he lived. Okay. Sometimes we can get caught up on pronunciation, and that's not what we're after. What we're really after is what are we going to be talking about? So we're coming to the end of the book of Bereshith, which is they have as Genesis, and it's these last few chapters. Up until this point, we've been discussing about our main characters have been Yosef. We had Yehuda, he was huge, and then we have our brothers, but I'm just more about names. We have Reuven that we were talking about. And then, and now we have Paro, which we had stuff with, but now, again, now it's back to falling about Yaakov, about him. And it still talks about Yosef, right? But really what we're going to be talking about is Yaakov. We're talking about his life. He's at the end of his life. And, the story that we've been reading about has been phenomenal, okay? I was just on the line with a couple of guys who read Hebrew, and I don't know where they're from, but I was able to go and join in with them, and we're reading the scriptures, and we start talking, and we're like, hey, so, it's amazing that this language kind of introduces you to so many different things that you would never know. One of the things that were brought out that really made me think was that this text, the actual Hebrew text, is a text that was not available to the common people. It wasn't available to just everybody. So no one was running around with a copy of the Torah. No one was running around with a copy of the Torah in their hand, except for the priest, except for the king. Okay. And then I asked the question, I said, well, here it is that we're these people that have been scattered to the four corners of the earth. And now you and I have a copy. You and I have a copy of the Torah in our hands. And it's never been available to anybody except for those who are of a royal esteem or had the knowledge and was really close to the Creator. So when we talk about the Leviim, okay, which consists of the tribe of Levi, and we talk about the priests who were part of that family, the Kohanim, right? They had a copy, right, that was given down from Moshe. That's the first copy. The first copy was given to Moshe, and then it's been transmitted down from Moshe to his brothers, the Kohanim, and then all the way down, right? And then we also have it's been put in the hands of kings. So royalty, okay? So you ask yourself the question, why don't people understand? Why don't they understand what you are trying to get them to understand or get them to see? Every one of these individuals that I mentioned here are high level people. I know you and I don't want to think that, you know, the Most High makes separation between people, but he does. The reason why people can't understand what you're trying to get them to understand is because you're high level now. The structure that the Most High has been building in your life is different. So when you're trying to explain something to somebody and they can't figure it out, it's simply because they don't have it. They don't have the structure. Your thoughts have been structured. Your mind has been literally gone through, and Yah's been tearing everything out of us that has been contrary to him. And what we're in a process of doing is rebuilding. And what we're rebuilding is what you would call a relationship. And that relationship is based upon knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That's coming directly from what? Where are you getting your knowledge, your wisdom, and understanding from?
Torah.
You get it from the Torah. And what does the Torah mean?
Instruction.
Instructions. Instructions on how to build. Because remember, understanding has to do with building. Banah. Understanding, have a word in there called banah. And banah means to build. It has skill. Okay. To build a what? A structure. So you and I are literally creating a place, right? A makom inside of ourselves for the Most High in order for him to say, you know what? I want to have something hold my knowledge, my wisdom, and understanding. In order to hold the words of the Most High, in order to be able to bear the weight, okay? In Hebrew, there's a word called kavod. Kavod, okay? Kavod means to be heavy, and it means to be weighty, okay? And it means a great deal of honor. So for you and I to be able to hold anything, okay, of great weight and great honor, we need a structure to hold it. Okay, so what was the vessel that the Most High decided to put his 10 words in and a copy of the Torah on the side of it? What was the structure? What was the vessel?
The ark.
It was the ark. And the ark is called the Aron. Okay, which you hear the name Aharon. Okay, not Aaron, but Aron, name of the ark in Hebrew. And it was a structure. It was a box. Okay, and boxes are used to put things in to have it organized and to feel. But it's a structure. And what was in the box?
You had the 10 words.
The 10 words.
The rod that budded.
The rod.
And the manna.
And the manna. These are the elements. Okay. Interesting that there's these three items, the 10 words that were on stone, the rod, Aaron's rod, and then the manna. What do all three of these have in common? What do they all have in common?
The wilderness.
They got the wilderness. Okay, here we go. Now you force me. You have forced my hand. I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, we used to play a game, okay? And the name of the game is called Hangman. You guys remember Hangman? Does anybody remember that?
Yes.
Okay. So here we go. We use the hangman. All right. So no, I don't want to use that. That's negative. I don't want to use that. I don't want to use that. God will forgive me. The box had 10 words. It had the rod. Okay. And it also had the manna. What did the rod represent? We know it's Aharon's, but what happened to it?
It budded.
It budded. And for something to bud means that it has what?
Life.
Thank you. Tell me about the manna.
The manna fed them in the desert, in the wilderness,
To keep them what?
alive.
Alive. So it had to do with life. Yah's words are life. Get it?
Yes.
It all has to do with life. Our last Torah portion dealt with the fact that Yosef was not trying, but he did keep his family alive by what Yah had did. Yah is concerned with life, everybody. That's what he's concerned with. He's not concerned with death. He's concerned with life. Okay? So when we look at the Torah and we look at all the different elements of it, and we look at someone's life, which the name of our Torah portion is Wayaki, and that word ki has to do with life. This is what it says. Israel lived, okay? And that word life has to do with the word called kai. And from what I told you, what does kai mean?
Life.
And life has to, and by your kai is really your what? What's your life?
Your breath.
Your breath, but it's also your stomach.
Oh, yes.
Don't forget that. You can breathe all you want to, but if you don't have no food, then you're not going to live. So it's beginning to tell us about his life, about Yisrael's life. And he lived in the land of Mizraim for 17 years, which is exactly the same amount of years that he lost from his son when his son was taken from him. He said they acquired possessions in there and they were productive and the numbers multiplied greatly. That was actually the last one right here, but here it is. Now it switches from Yisrael to Yaakov. 27 tells you Yisrael lived. 28 tells you that Yaakov lived. This is interesting, don't you think? Israel lived in the land of Mizraim. Yaakov lived in the land of Mizraim. 17 years. Yaakov lived to be 147 years old. When he met Pharaoh, he was 130. So he had 17 years, that's 147. Very important for us to understand. The time came when Israel was approaching death. Now this is being narrated to us, okay? So remember, what did I tell you about Yaakov? What did I tell you when they mentioned his name? Yaakov is associated with fear. Yaakov is associated with sorrow. That's when he mentions this name. Because remember, Yah says your name will no longer be called that. I'm going to call you Israel. I won't call you Yaakov anymore. But he did mention his name in prayer, like hey, when he came to him in a vision. And he talks to him when he's in this state of fear and sorrow and misery. The reason why is bringing up Yaakov too, because it's talking about his human side, like his humanity side, the side that's really going to suffer. So Yaakov always deals with fear, sorrow, and suffering. Okay, it's always about suffering with him because his whole life he's been going through it. Okay, And also his descendants are going to go through it too. But it says when the time came for Yisrael was approaching his death, so he called for his son Joseph. Okay. Why did he call for Joseph? Why not the other 11?
Probably because of his rank in Mizraim.
It's his rank,
Mm-hmm.
excellent, and it's his ability. And also too, because Joseph now is what? He has been considered their master. Remember the dream? He said, I'm going to be your master. And the father was like, no, you're not going to be me and your mothers and all this. Are you crazy? Yeah, he's his master because he has ability now. So he calls him and he says, if you truly love me, right, please put your hand underneath my thigh, just like it happened with Abraham, and pledge, make a swear to me out of consideration for me that you will not bury me in Mizraim. Okay. So he doesn't want to be buried in Mizraim because Mizraim is a place that is a reminder, again, of his trouble. He wasn't full of joy when he got there, everybody. Remember, he kept saying, it's about time for me to die. So he said, I'm going to die. I can die now, but it took him 17 years. Rather, when I sleep with my fathers, you are to carry me out of Mizraim and bury me where they're buried. Okay. He replied, I will do as you have said. So he swore to him and he said, swear it to me. And he swore to him. And I was dealing with the number 7 called Shavah, meaning to make an oath to me. And he did. And so Yisrael bowed down at the head of his bed. Now, it said he was approaching his death. So he knew that it was time for him to go. Backdrop on this is very important because we're going to get into, I'm going to try to get us to where we're going to talk more about Ephraim and Manasseh. It says a while later, someone told Joseph that his father was ill. It's interesting because they don't tell us who this someone is. They don't tell us who this someone is. In certain places, I asked myself, well, why isn't it mentioned who came to him and told him? It could have been a servant, but it just says someone, which you're going to find something interesting. So a while later, someone told Joseph that his father was ill. He took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. So he took his 2 sons with him. So you know that they weren't living among him. They were still living in Pharaoh's area. So Yaakov was told, and he was told by someone. They don't tell who it was. So one of the rules that we have to understand about reading the text is if someone is not mentioned, then they're not that important. Okay, they're not. So we don't have to look for it. Here comes your son, Joseph. He don't tell us who it is. Israel gathered his strength and he sat up in the bed. Okay, so again, you see them using this name. Yaakov is told. Yaakov is ill. He's the one who's dealing with suffering again. Okay, but also then he gives this, says Israel gathered himself. He gathered his strength and he sat up in the bed. Why? Because Israel or Yisrael is the one who's strong. Okay, so Yaakov said to Yosef, El Shaddai has appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and he's blessed me, saying to me, I will make you fruitful and numerous. I will make a group of peoples, and I will give this land to your descendants to possess forever. Okay? There's a reason why, if you notice, he didn't use the Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh right here. So go back to Exodus chapter number 6. He says, I appeared unto your fathers as El Shaddai. Okay, so they never knew him as Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. Why is this important for him to say this, though? That's what I'm going to try to get you to understand. Why did he say to him, the first words that come out of his mouth is he says, El Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me, saying to me, and I will make you a fruitful and numerous. At Luz was where the Most High appeared to him. There was the 2 different appearings. So one was at the ladder. the Sulam, when the Most High was standing up at the ladder. This is when he told him this thing. I will make you fruitful and numerous, and I will make you a group of peoples, and I will give this land to your descendants to possess forever. He mentions the land because that's where he's letting him know, this is where I want you to take me. Okay, this is where you're gonna have to take me. But there's another reason why he makes this statement. The first one, he says, I will make you fruitful and numerous. Okay. So we all know the promise, but there's a reason why. Okay. Here it is. He says, now your sons, your two sons who were born to you in the land of Mizraim, where I came to you in Egypt, are mine. Okay, listen to this. He mentions Ephraim and Manasseh. He mentions Ephraim first, and then he mentions Manasseh second. Will be as much mine as Reuben and Shimon. Reuben is the firstborn, and Shimon is the secondborn. Okay, so what he's doing is he's adopting these two children into his family. Okay, his family for inheritance, because he wants to give them inheritance. Okay, so he's not necessarily getting rid of Yosef, but he's combining what he was going to give to Yosef to both of his sons as if they're his first son and his second son. So he's bringing them into the family as they're legitimately sons to him. They're not his son's sons. He's saying they're mine. These two boys are mine now. I'm taking them for me. They're mine. Okay, my sons. They're no longer your sons. They're my sons. And I want to show you the reason why. The children born, here's something a lot of us didn't know. He says the children born to you after them will be yours. So Joseph was to have children, and he probably did. Okay, those children, someone put your device on mute for me. Thank you. Those children born to you after them will be yours. But for the purposes of inheritance, they're to be counted with their older brothers. So now, again, he's letting you know that these two boys are now my sons. Okay. Now, as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died suddenly as we were traveling through the land of Canaan while we were still some distance from Ephrath. Ephrath means to be a heap. It means a pile. Okay. It means abundance. Okay. I buried her on the way to Ephrath, also known as Bethlehem. Somebody tell me what Bethlehem means. What is Bet?
House.
Thank you. Lechem.
The family.
Lechem.
Bread.
Bread. So the house of bread. So this is where David's family is from. They're from Bethlehem. They're from the house of bread. Okay. Just keep that in mind. And so then Israel noticed Joseph's sons. And he asked a question, who are these? Right? Joseph answered his father, they are my sons, whom Elohim has given me here. Joseph answered his father, they are my sons, whom Elohim has given me here. Yaakov replied, I want you to bring them here to me so that I can bless them. Okay. Now we see this in all of our texts about how, the fathers are conveying blessings onto their sons, the firstborns. So then he says, now Yisrael's eyes were dim, just like his father Yitzchak, right? With age, because he was so old. He's 147 years old, so that he could not see, just like his father Yitzchak. He couldn't see. So Joseph brought his sons near to him, and he kissed them, and he embraced them. Two things he did to him. He kissed him and he embraced him. Israel said to Joseph, I've never expected to see you, to see even you again, but Elohim has allowed me to see your children too. Okay. I'm going to get to the point here soon. So Joseph brought them out from between his legs. So these children must have been, probably like in their early, teens, or maybe, 7 to 10, who knows? Okay, but we know that it's been some time, right? And he prostrated himself on the ground, which the Most High wants us to understand something. The reason why Yosef had prostrated himself on the ground was because of what Elohim has done. Because he said, I will never expect to see you again, but Elohim has allowed me to see your children too. The custom there is when anything that Yah has done for anybody, they would automatically prostrate themselves out of honor and respect to the Most High. So he put himself, and prostrated means he went all the way face first down on the ground, which is his nose to the ground, 100, whole entire body. Okay. Then Yosef took them both. After he did this, he took Ephraim in his right hand towards Israel's left. So just imagine this. I'm facing you. My right hand is facing your left hand if I'm facing you directly, and my left hand is facing your right hand. So here, Yosef had took both of them, Ephraim in his right hand, okay, and towards Israel's left, and Manasseh in his left hand, which is Israel's right hand. And that was on purpose, because whoever's on the left hand is going to be pushed forward to the right hand. And I brought them near to him, okay, and he brought them near to him. But Yisrael, he put out his right hand and he laid it on the head of the younger one, which is Ephraim, and he put his left hand on the head of Manasseh. Okay. He intentionally crossed his hands up. And I need you to understand why. So he crossed his hands, even though Manasseh was the firstborn. Then he blessed Yosef. So the first thing he did is he blessed Yosef, and he says, the Elohim in whose presence my fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, lived. Okay, meaning they got lived here, but the true word for this is not to live. It's really called, where's it at here? Is really walked. Okay. And the way that they walk was what they call a hitfael, which is a reflexive. They caused themselves to walk before the Most High. Okay. They caused themselves to do it. This is something they had to do. So Abraham caused himself to walk before the Most High, meaning to walk in his ways, and Yitzchak did as well, which they will call the halakha. I know you guys have probably heard that before, the halakha. The halakha is the manner in which someone is supposed to live. Okay, it's a manner of life. So you might hear the Jews talk about the halakha, but that's not exclusive to them. It's literally in the text. It tells us that they had a certain way that they walked before the Most High. It's a certain manner that they lived. Okay, and he says the Elohim who has been my own shepherd. This right here is shepherding. Okay, all my life. Okay. And really what a shepherd is someone called a roi that we went over before, a roi. And a roi is someone who's been feeding. That's what a shepherd does. A shepherd is one who feeds and leads and feeds, okay, to bring them to the place of their rest. And so that was something that the Most High had told him when he said, you know, remember what our father said. He said, if you would be my Elohim and you feed me and you take care of me, then you would be my Elohim. So now he's making reference to how the generations prior to this have always been living in a manner that the Most High wanted them to live, which is important for us to understand, is that when you and I, we have a halakha, okay? It's not Jewish, it's the truth. You and I have a halakha. We have a manner of life that you and I are supposed to walk. And that's what we're doing right now. We're walking, we're being taught by the Most High. You guys are coming to class, you know, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you come on Shabbat. Some of you attend the Hebrew class, great, because that's what Yah is doing. He's literally shepherding you, and he's feeding you, right? And he's leading. And let me change that. He's feeding us, because I'm being fed and I'm being taught as we go along. I don't know all this, okay? So, and then he mentions this Malach right here. They got angel, but it's Malach, who rescued me from all harm. So Yah has Israel has a Malach that's literally working on his behalf for him from the Most High, okay? He says, this Malach has rescued me from all harm. All harm is from everything that was coming against me, like, you know, the surrounding cities. He understood the presence of Yah through this Malach, this messenger for the Most High. So this angel right here, or this Malach, is not Yah, okay? It's not, because a messenger is someone who's walking on behalf of someone else, delivering a message on the one who sent them. So a messenger can only be someone, which is a malak, is someone who's being sent, someone who's walking. Okay. Again, the mem means from, the L is lamed to shepherd staff, and then the kaf, final kaf, is the palm of the hand. So it's literally the lock, the staff in the hand, to walk. That's what you do with a staff in your hand, and you're walking to deliver a message. And the message that you and I are to deliver, like the malak is delivering, is for us to walk in Yahweh's ways, walk in the manner that has been prescribed. Okay, in the manners in which we've been prescribed to us. And also, too, we have to walk on what we will call the path. So, as we know in Genesis chapter number 18, the Most High says, should I not make known to Abraham what I intend on doing? And he says, knowing that he will guard and teach his children to walk, okay, in the path. And the path in Hebrew is called a derek, which you would get your English word for directions. Okay, so the derek, to walk on the path that I've told them to walk on. Okay. I want to go to one point about why I mentioned Ephraim and Manasseh and what the Most High said. Do you know what Ephraim's name means? Ephraim, do you know what his name means? Or do you remember? Ephraim's name means fruitful. His father named him this because he was in the land, and when they were having those very fruitful years before the famine, he said, Yah has brought me here, and he made me fruitful. The name of Manasseh, when he had Manasseh, his name means to forget. And what did Joseph try to forget? Somebody tell me.
All of the hard times that he had in his land.
Yeah, and with his family. To forget his family. Okay? So these are two ideas that you and I need to remember this week. We need to remember about being fruitful and how not to forget. Okay? The reason why the Yisrael put his hand on Ephraim's head, on his right hand, to give him the blessing, and not on Manasseh. He intentionally crossed this because of their names. Okay? And I'm going to make the connection for you. So do you remember what we just read? He said that when Joseph came to him, the Most High, El Shaddai, told our father, I will make you fruitful and numerous. Okay? This is the first words that came out of his mouth when Joseph came to see him. I will make of you a group of peoples. That means to fruitful and to multiply. And I will give this land to your descendants to possess forever. Okay? So he's making mention of this promise, what El Shaddai had promised him, and how he appeared to him in order to tell him that he was going to be fruitful. So when he understood this, he automatically, when he asked him, who are these? And then you have Ephraim. I got it there spelled that way. When you have Ephraim, his name is fruitful and numerous. That's the reason why he put his hand on his head. If he would have put his right hand on Manasseh's head, what would have been transmitted? What would have been the story? To forget the what? The pain and the sorrow of family. So Yah's not interested. Listen, he's not interested in this idea of forgetting. Yah's only interested in being fruitful and multiply, because what does fruitful and multiplication mean? What does it mean?
Means to increase.
Increase what? Because Joseph's name means to increase, so you're right on it. Increase what? What does he want to increase?
See.
It was increased seed because the seed is what?
Life.
Life. So going back to our idea about what the Most High is talking about, he's interested in increasing life. Okay. That's what it's about. That's why we have the seasons and our changes and all these different things. And we have the famines that he ends up cleaning out people that he don't want to be there anymore. And then all of a sudden he'll bring back the increase. He'll bring it back. So the idea is to bring life. So when Yosef brought his sons, Ephraim represents life. And this guy right here represents forgetting, that has association to do with pain and has to do with to sorrow. You see, and it has to do with forgetting. And he wanted to forget the family. Elohim has caused me to forget all the sorrows that I felt for my family and my brothers and what they did to me. So the Most High is not interested in that. So what it is in his wisdom, okay, because I'm going to tell you that Yisrael, he's a prophet. He's a prophet. And you say, well, how could you say he's a prophet? Because in chapter number 49, he begins to tell his sons what their end is going to be. And it turned out exactly the way that he said, which we're going to go over later. Okay. But I just wanted to show you that he was up on it. I would say that Yisrael, Yaakov, had what you would call, he had an awareness. Even though he was old, even though he was sick, even though he was about to die, he still understood and he had an awareness about the promise. That was something that's always been on his mind and always in his heart. You understand? He always knew what it was about. This is the reason why he didn't want to leave. And he was afraid, if I leave, will I ever get the promise? God came and visited him, say, yeah, go down. I'm going to make you fruitful. I'm going to make you numerous. But he understands this. So he adopts these children into his family, and he places his right hand on this kid because this kid is the one whose name means fruitful. That's what his name means, to be fruitful. Okay. I think his name also too has to do with this idea of what they call parah. And parah has to do with fruit. Okay. And then you have the eem on the end right here that tells you that has to do with plurality. Okay, meaning more than one, to be super fruitful. Okay. And that's what it's about. But I also mentioned to you that I wanted to share one other thing with you before we go tonight. He wanted them to remember Abraham and Yitzchak, his fathers. He said, I'm going to go. I want to be in their presence. What do we understand about Abraham? They say that he's Elohim's what? What did they call Abraham?
Friend.
Yeah, someone said he's his friend. What do you guys think I'm going to do? What do you think I'm going to tell you about that? What do you think I'm going to tell you about Abraham being his friend?
He wasn't his friend.
He wasn't his friend. Oh, you want it, Dr. Ured? Oh, wait a minute. He wasn't his friend. Okay, and I'm going to prove that to you. And it's very important for you to understand this. Because if you go around and you think that he's your friend, right? And it means it's a different type of relationship. Let me look it up right quick. I was looking up something for somebody earlier about Lucifer. Yeah, here you go. All right. Oh yeah, 41. There you go. All right. So we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at Isaiah 40, 48 and 1, and then we're going to look at James 2 and 3. So it could show you something. So Isaiah chapter number 41, verse number 41 and 8. is important because remember, he said, I want your sons to remember my fathers and understood what they stood for and what I stand for. So you have to understand what the relationship is, because that's what Yah is trying to get us to build, right? We're trying to build this relationship back with the Most High. It's very dangerous for us to believe that he's he's our friend. Okay. Verse number 8 says, Wa'ata, meaning, and to you, Yisrael, you're my Avdi, you're my servant. Yaakov, in whom I have chosen. The Bakartika, I'm the one who chose you. The seed, you're the seed of Abraham, and they have there my friend. Well, if you know the meaning or the definition for a friend, it's really called a kavar. Okay. A kavar is a companion. And it's somebody that, it's somebody you trust, and it's someone that you hang out with. You guys are friends. You guys talk and you share a lot of things in common. But this is not the word right here. All right. So what we have to look at is what is written. We have to believe what's written. First and foremost, we see that it's a verb. Okay. It's a verb, and it's called a participle. And a participle means that it is a continual, ing. That's why ing is used for a participle, okay? So somebody tell me, what is the verb? It's an aleph, a hey, a bet, and then a yod. How do you say it? Somebody tell me. O, ha, havi, ohavi. Okay? Ohavi. Not a kavar, not a kavor, it's a ohavi. And ohavi means from the root called to love. Do you see that? Means to love. So in context, it's loving. Abraham is the one that I'm loving. He's not my friend. He's the one that I love. Okay. The Hebrew word ahav has these 3 letters, 1, 2, and 3. The hey in a love, right? Because here's the first letter, then here's the hey, and then here's the bet. These 2 letters right here are the root of that word. This one here makes it a child. So this letter right here is not, it's part of the word, but its parents are the hey and the bet. So when we look at the hey means to look towards, and then what's the bet?
The house.
The house, okay, or the home or the dwelling. So when the Most High says that he is loving him, what he's saying is, I'm looking towards his house. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking towards his house. If he's looking towards Abraham's house, he's looking towards his family. He's looking to take care of his family. His family are his seeds, which you would call Zerah or Zerah, okay? If it was Zerah, it'd be the ka on here, okay? Zerah, meaning your seed. So he's looking towards his house and he's looking towards his family. And that's what we have to remember when we're dealing with the Most High. The relationship with the Most High is of great importance, okay? And he's trying to teach us his ways. If we would be receptive to him, we'd be able to, embrace his ways. But he's looking towards the house. He's always thinking about Abraham, okay? He doesn't mention anything about loving anybody else in the New Testament, Okay, you know, I know they say this is my son in whom I love. No, and the love that he has is, I'll just circle the letter and you tell me what kind of love is it.
Ahava.
Strong love.
Oh,
That's that ox head. It's a strong love. Okay. Also, too, the letter Aleph in Hebrew means what? Not only a strong ox, but it also has this idea of I. Okay. Because you add it to the front of any letter or any word, it'll tell you that it means I. Okay. Just want you to know that. So he's not his friend. He's the one who's loving him. Okay. And matter of fact, he tells us, leave over here. Find a way. If I'm not mistaken, Davarim 4. In Davarim chapter number 4, it says this. Okay, perfect. Let's just start with this. Number 27. Yahweh will scatter you among the peoples and among the nations to which Yahweh will lead you away. You will be left few in number. This is in Deuteronomy chapter number 4. So he's talking to the second generation. He's saying you guys are going to be left few in number. So your numbers will be decreased. There you will serve gods in which are the product of human hands, made of wood and stone, which cannot see, hear, eat, or smell. So that means that they're not alive. They don't even live. They don't exist. However, from there, you will seek Yahweh, your Elohim. You will find him if you search after him with all your heart and being. Okay, meaning your mind and all your soul, your stomach, your appetite, everything. He says, in your distress, when all these things have come upon you in the Akarat Hamayim, you will return to Yahweh, your Elohim, and you will listen to what he says. For Yahweh, your Elohim, is a merciful Elohim. He will not fail you. Okay. He will not destroy you. He will not fail you. He will not destroy you, and he will not forget the covenant with your ancestors, which he swore to them. So he's not going to ever forget. He's not going to do a monashe. He's not going to do that. Okay. Instead, it asks us the question to inquire about the past before you were born. Okay. So you got to search your history. Since the day Elohim created human beings on the earth from one end of heaven to the other, has there ever been anything as wonderful as this? Has anyone ever heard anything like it? Did any other people ever hear the voice of Elohim speaking out of the fire as you have heard and stay alive? Can we answer that question? Has anybody?
no.
No.
No. So we're different, okay? Did any other people ever hear the voice of Elohim speaking out of fire as you have heard and stay alive? Or has Elohim ever tried to go and take for himself a nation from the very bowels of another nation by the means of ordeals and signs and wonders and war and mighty hand and outstretched arm and great terrors, like all that Elohim or Yahweh your Elohim did for you in Egypt before your very eyes? That's mentioned because he's letting you know these are the things that you're going to see and hear. Okay. He says, inquire, okay, before you even born. Has there ever been anything as wonderful as this? Has anyone ever heard anything like this? Okay. So when he talks about has any other people have ever heard? So what he's making reference to is that you will hear the voice of Elohim again. And you will stay alive. Other people will not. Okay. Or has Elohim ever tried to go and take for himself a nation from the very bowels of another nation, just like he did in Mitzrayim with the signs and the wonders and war and mighty hand and outstretched arm and great terrors, like he did for you in Mitzrayim. The reason why this is being mentioned, or the question is being asked, is because if you remember what he just said, he says that Yahweh will not destroy, he will not fail you, he will not destroy you or forget the covenant. That's why he's saying this. Context, if you will return. See, so you got to put it all together. He's not, if he just told them that I'm going to scatter you all over the world, and then he follows up with these questions right here, he's asking those questions to get us to do what?
To think.
To think. That's what he's trying to get us to do, to think like, okay, so you just told us that you're going to scatter us. And in the last days, if we return to you, then you say that you're not going to fail us, destroy us, or forget the covenant. And then all of a sudden, you tell us to inquire about the past. Why are you asking me to inquire about the past before I was born? Why? Why do you want me to remember this wonderful thing, especially when I'm, according to this, they were going into the land. So why does he want them to remember about being scattered? And they haven't been scattered. So obviously the question is who is he talking to? You see? So the very things that he mentioned here are the things that he's going to do for us. This was shown to you so that you would know that Yahweh is Elohim and that there is no other beside him. And here's the kicker. And he's telling you right now, okay, so if they're scattered, like he said they're going to be, then he says, this was shown to you so that you would know that Yahweh is Elohim and there is none other like him. From the heaven, he caused you to hear his voice, which I told you and I are going to hear again, in order to instruct you on the earth. And he caused you to see, which this is what he's going to do again, and that you heard the very word, his very words coming out from the fire. The reason why he's mentioning this, everyone, is because this is exactly what's going to happen again. You and I are going to hear his voice, and we're also going, and right now, he's instructing us through the Torah, through his voice, right? And then he says he's going to call, and he caused you to see his great fire. That's why? So you can know. Do you remember he says that when I do certain things, then you will know that I'm Yahweh? You see? So the only true way for anybody to know that he is who he says he is by hearing his voice, okay, for instructions, but also to the voice that's coming out of this great fire. You're going to see a great fire, and you heard his very words coming out of the fire. But you're going to be the only people that are going to stay alive. Okay? Why? Because he loved your ancestors. This right here, ED, is not where it's at. He's loving your ancestors. Like we learned on Shabbat, he's currently saving us right now. He's loving us. He didn't loved, okay? He's loving our ancestors. The moment that Yah stops loving our ancestors, you and I will be destroyed. So obviously what's been keeping him going is the love that he has for Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And the reason why he loved them, somebody tell me, why does he love them? Why is he loving them?
Because they dared to do what he said.
They walked, and they're walking in, or called a halakha. They're halakha. They're walking in the manner that he told them to walk. They're walking on that derek. I always use Hebrew terms for you, which is the path. He says, you're going to teach your children how to do the very things that I'm telling you. That's why you're reading stories about Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, because you want to know in what manner that they walked. You want to know how they walked before the Most High. You want to understand how they lived. Because if you understand how they lived, then you'll walk before him. And then guess what? The love that he has for them and that he's loving them with, that love is going to be transmitted to the descendants of those who are currently walking present tense, like their ancestors. And therefore, you and I have access to the covenant. We have access to it, and we will be able to get the land and the promise. Just like our father, before he died, he was concerned about going back to the land. He didn't care where he died. He just wanted to make sure that he got back to the land where his fathers were buried. That's how much they understood the promise. That's why they were laying hands on people and giving them the names and joining them in the family, because he understood, oh, his name is Ephraim. This is the one. I know that this is the why I need to put my hand over here, because the Most High showed me that Ephraim is going to be the one. He's the one who's going to be fruitful. Most High doesn't want to forget. He wants us to be fruitful, and he doesn't want us to forget. So he's loving our ancestors. Okay. And look, and chose their descendants. That's you and I. Okay. After them, and brought you out of the land of Mizraim with what? His presence and great power. Again, this is here to let you know what he's going to do, because they ask a question. Has anything as wonderful as this, has anyone ever heard of it? Anything like it? So if it's wonderful, then you go back to what he told Moshe. He says, I'm going to do something very wonderful inside of you. I'm going to do something wonderful with you and with the people of Israel. I'm going to do something wonderful. I'm going to do the very thing that I did. Okay. So if I did that with my great power, and I did it, and I brought them out of the presence of Egypt with that power, how am I going to come and get you?
Great power.
I'm coming with great power, and I'm going to do it very in the eyes of all the nations. And then after I bring you out, I'm going to do, what's the next step after I bring you out? Where I'm bringing you? According to Ezekiel 20, where are you going?
Wilderness.
You're going to the wilderness. Tell us, Dr. Uriah, why are they going to the wilderness? Why are we going there?
Be judged.
You're going to be judged face to face, just like I judged your
Ancestors.
ancestors. Okay. Then you're going to what? Then you're going to know. See? So in order to drive out ahead of you, the nation's greater and stronger than you. So someone say, well, you know what? That was for them. He's driving out the nations greater and stronger than they are. Okay. So what is y'all going to do with the nations with us?
We're going to kill them.
I'm going to kill them, and I'm going to destroy them, and I'm going to put a complete what? He always says it. I'm going to make a complete end of them, even though I'm only going to discipline you as you deserve. I'm going to destroy the nations because I'm mad at them, and I'm going to put an end to them. Okay? So that he can bring you in and give you the land of inheritance, as it is the case this day. Okay? And so after you are brought into your inheritance, after you're judged, after you have met the Most High and you're following what he says, then he says this. He says, Moshe said this. He wanted us to understand something. He says, know today. Know today. Understand today. And kum, establish it in your mind that Yahweh is Elohim in heaven above and on the earth below, and there is no other. There is no other. Abraham is not Yahweh's friend. Abraham is one that Yah is loving. It's different. It's not a friend. It's not a kavar. It's not a companion. Yah is taking care of Abraham's house. You and I are part of Abraham's family. Is he feeding us? Yeah.
Yes.
Did he remember us? Yeah. Has he not brought and given us the royal Torah, the very thing the kings and the priests only had access to, that they were used to teach the people? Now he said, I'm going to put it in the hands of my people.
Yes.
That's the reason why nobody else is going to understand what you're talking about. They have to have that mind, that royal mind. They have to have a high level mind. You understand where remember he said, I'm going to make you a kingdom of Kohanim for me.
Yes.
You're being prepared to be these people. And because you're decided that you want to do what he says and you want to be the high level, then guess what? You're going to be the high level. I'm being honest with you. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. Yah's not interested in losers. He's not. Yah will, what you mean by losers? Anybody that's not with Yah is losing. They're the losers. Anybody that won't take the Torah and appreciate it is a loser, and they're going to lose. There's only winners and losers, folks. The winners are the ones who take Yah's side. If you look at every example he's ever given us, you take his side, you get to leave. You don't take his side, you're dead. That's it. And he's going to destroy the nations. It's going to be a big event. It's going to be a wonderful thing. So that's what it is. So Yaakov understood this. That's why he put his hand on Ephraim, because he wants the family to continue. He wants the family to be fruitful. If he would have put his hand on Manasseh, that means that the family would have probably been forgotten. Do you understand? That's the reason why. So names are huge. That's why Yah changed Yaakov's name to Yisrael, because if he left his name Yaakov, would he prevail? No. He had to get a name changed. You understand? Did he change Abraham's name?
Yep.
Yes.
Why did he change Abraham's name?
Because it didn't stand for what he wanted him to be, the father
He
of many
needed
nations.
him to be something else. He wanted to add to him. So he put a am on it. That am on the end means people in Hebrew. The people. Ha'am, he put Avram. His name was Avram. He changed his name to Avraham. Avraham. That Ham right there is the Ha, and Am is people. The multitudes of multitudes. You understand? In the Hebrew text, it said, Ephraim, he's going to fill the nations with people because Yah wants him to populate. He wants him to populate the earth. It's a family that's supposed to be fruitful for the Most High. So we can see again, the Most High is only interested in increase, which is Yosef. He's only interested in Ephraim, which is fruitfulness. He's only interested in Yisrael, meaning to prevail. He's only interested in Avraham, the father of great nations. He's only interested in Sarah, not Sarai, because he wanted to increase her, because you have kings and priests and princes coming through her. Multitudes. Every time you hear a blessing, I want to multiply you. It's simple. That's the blessing. The blessing is to be increased. And the only reason that you and I should be increased is so we can bring glory to the Most High, but also too, I got to put you in the proper environment for you to be increased. So your numbers are going to be few, like he told us when I scatter you. So you're nothing where you're going to be. But I had to, like I did with the famine, I have to eliminate humans and animals. I got to eliminate certain people out of my family because they don't want to act right. So I got to get rid of them. Why? Because they're not being fruitful. Okay. So if anybody has a tree or a plant and you look at it and it's not doing well and it just doesn't want to behave, what do? Do you just leave it there and just let it die and suck all the juice from the rest of the plant? Or do you cut it off? You cut it off. You understand? So